Hi, everyone. Welcome back to our second episode of His and Her Life Hacks. This is Dawne and Larry. And today's hack is staying in peace in the midst of chaos, transitioning from summer into fall. We have so many different transitions that we're going through that we thought for sure, you are too, and we would share some of our funny stories and transitions with you. So you want to lead us off?
Yeah, I think the first thing I want to point out there, Dawn, is that so if you watch the first one, you're going to, well, you may not remember, but if you do, you'll realize that we're in the same thing. And so we're kind of new to this podcast game. So we recorded these on the same day. So for future reference, I think we got to think about the wardrobe.
We need a wardrobe, yes. And then maybe one day we'll have hair and makeup gear and, camera and all that. So, we'll advance to that. But for now, you get the same outfit.
Yeah, so we think this is a really timely, relevant topic, right? Because I think all of us are kind of facing, the transition from what was hopefully an enjoyable and hopefully a relaxing summer, right? I know I find in our house, right, that the summer kind of drags on, it becomes the dog days after you've kind of gone through some of the vacations, maybe in the middle of the summer, right? But then you hit August and kind of mid-August and you're ramping up, right? Because it's kind of these transitions kind of come fast and furious. And I think for us, a couple of the big ones are certainly back to school, right? Yeah. So, back to school to us means, my younger kids anyway, they go to a Catholic school, so it's uniforms, right? But then there's also the fall clothing, right? So it's not just uniforms, right? They actually have to have clothes outside of school. And then there's shoes, and you might think, well, shoes, that's pretty easy, right? But no, there's school shoes, and then there's sports shoes, and then there's, the mess around, kick around shoes, and then there's a specific workout shoes. So it's like a whole, complex situation, right?
Well, I'm just going to interrupt here because you say complex, but this is where the men and women perspective are a little bit different because to a woman, back to school shopping is just everything. It's literally like head to toe. We even doing winter coats, shoes for every season, boots, we do the whole 9 yards. So I remember those days very well. My children are now 29 and 27. So I am still doing back to school shopping with my youngest, who is a school teacher. And every year we do the same ritual of school shopping, and we do it all. Everything from dresses to shoes to hair bands and stuff to match the outfits. So a guy is more extreme, oh my God, we had to buy 5 shoes. That's a given.
That's because I think for you it's like a performance, right? You're out there performing on
it's
the stage, shopping.
Fun.
Right? For me, it's we got to go to this store, we got to go to that store, and I have to try them on and all that. Okay.
Yeah. So women are hunters, right? So we love to hunt, touch, feel, all that good stuff. So yes,
and you guys do a good job of it. So the other big thing that we have too is we have a couple kids going in college, right? And so this year, you move back to college, but this year was a bigger year because 2 of them were being outfitted into apartments for the first time. So, it's not just making sure we get them back on campus, it's making sure we outfit the apartment right. And, what's key, and I don't know if you have college-age kids or kids are going into college, but the coordination around trying to figure out what's going into the apartment is critical, right? It can make or break that experience. So I had one child who it was well coordinated, and I think a lot of the parents were actually kind of jumped in on that, right? But everybody knew what everybody was bringing, the size of the beds, the bedspreads, and who had extra stuff and maybe didn't have to buy, and what food and kitchen utensils and all that stuff, well coordinated. And my other child, it was literally, I think, a couple days before, hey, who's bringing pots, and who's bringing silverware, and who's bringing, glasses and plates and so forth. So that was a little more chaotic, making sure the Amazon trucks could actually get in there in time. So there's a lot of effort that goes into that transition. And then, of course, then you got to move it in, which for me, there's 2 different colleges. It's a weekend experience for both of those. So
yeah, exhausting. Fun, but exhausting for sure. Yeah, and then the next one would be older children transitioning out of the house, so they're starting in their careers and they're starting to really want that space of their own. Not really sure about how to go about doing it, but we had a funny experience recently with the older 2 boys who wanted to move in together, and the younger one was a little bit more eager and excited just to get out. It didn't matter where or what kind of apartment it was. And those 2 went and looked at an apartment. I happen to have worked in the industry for a couple of years. So I know the right questions to ask or what to look for or whatever. And maybe some red flags, So of course the younger one came home and was giving us some of the details, and I was like, that has a lot of red flags all over it. Would you mind, could I, as a parent, just kind of jump in there and, set up a tour for me to just kind of preview it? And of course, when I got there, there were many red flags. So I highly suggested that it might not be the right choice for them. And, as in life, right, everything happens for good reason. So it was a learning experience, a couple learning lessons in there. Let's not jump on the first one. Let's not think of it's good enough. Let's think, I deserve greatness. So why not look for something that's better or not just good enough, right? And maybe not make such a rash decision or something. And maybe us adults have some knowledge, maybe bounce it off of us adults or whatever. But in the end, we all laughed about it, and they loved, that we got involved. And next thing you know, something perfect opened up the next day. It was actually like this big, beautiful townhome, and we knew the person, and it's gorgeous, and it's what they deserve. So that's where they're moving into, and life happens that way. So
yeah.
And then what? So then we
and then as you're going through, there's the regular stuff in life, right? There's the medical things that you have to deal with, right? There's dental appointments. There's well visits that always seem to happen this time of year, right? And they got to get their sports physicals, right? And there's, sometimes you have the procedure, right, that you have to help a child with, and you had to do, right? Had to get involved with and making sure everything went all right that way, and then. And then there's kind of the one-offs, right? Like I have a daughter who wanted to go get a tattoo. It's not something that she had previously, but it was important to her. She wanted to put something that reminded her of her mom, who had passed away in 2011. So she came up with the design and kind of really thought it through, but was nervous about doing it. So Dawne jumped in and kind of took her and kind of held her hand through it. Right. And, it was an event, but it's something that's important. It's important to them. So you have to figure out how to make time to kind of help them and support them along the way. So, there's all kinds of those things as well. And I'm sure in your households, there's lots of different things as well that you can come up with. Right. But
before you go any further, I just want to jump in about the tattoo. When I think of that, it's not just about the tattoo. It was more or less about who she is as a person. She's really not somebody who would do something like this. So this was very much outside of her comfort zone. But it was so important to her, which was awesome, that she was just very strong-willed about this. And it was a very meaningful, delicate thing. So, we made it nice. We went, I did actually hold her hand. And actually I was shaking for her. So the guy was like, okay, you can't hold hands because you're making her wiggle and I can't do that. So I put my foot on her. So that was like the steady touch. But she also wanted it written in her mother's handwriting. And I had heard about that little hack once. And so I had traced her mom's handwriting from a baby book to be exact onto the transparent paper, I think it was called, which he then took and put into the tattoo. So that's a little hack. That's something I learned. So if anyone is out there, I'm not encouraging tattoos by any means, but if you have something like that, that was very meaningful for her, especially because her mom passed away. And now every time she looks at her arm, she not only has this message, but she has it in her mom's handwriting. So that was very special. And then afterwards we went and got ice cream, because I think ice cream is great for everything. It heals everything. It celebrates everything. Yeah. So in my world anyway. So that was just it wasn't just a tattoo. It was an actual experience. It was a day. It was something meaningful and memorable that I will always cherish, and I hope she does too. And so again, it's we're making time for these little things in the midst of chaos, in the midst of our busy life. But I always say, whenever a child asks me for anything, I'm always going to stop and drop everything if I can. I mean, if there's something that I can't move, I won't. But just some of those things. So
yeah, and so we have all this going on, and with the kids. In the meantime, we're trying to launch a business, right? That we've talked about on the first podcast, right? Coming together to have this business. We're launching this podcast, right? Which is going to be part of the business to kind of help spread the message and so forth. And we had our own personal, event, right? And big important event in our lives where we got engaged, right? And so. we're trying to continue to build our relationship towards the next major milestone, right? And that's getting married. And we're trying to do this while living separate lives. You have your place, I have my place, and we're trying to stay coordinated. And I think, it's for us, again, what's the topic, right? How do you stay connected and how do you find peace through these crazy transitions? And I think in the past, my mode of operandi would have been like, I'm gonna try to do everything. I'm plowing ahead. I got all the stuff I have to do at work, and then I'll try to fit the kids in here because I know it's important. But and you're just constantly going crazy, trying to make everything happen, right? And you're grinding, right? And you end up trying to burn out a little bit. And in the end, I don't really think you have a good experience with it. I think your children don't really have a good experience with it because I probably feel like it's rushed or they're bothering you by asking for things that are really important for them. But now, kind of having both come through, significant events in our life where we kind of crashed after burnout and trying to do it all and said, life is just more important. There's things that in life that are more important. Let's reprioritize and let's, find our real true purpose, now.
And I think some of the, I guess the common theme that we have that you probably keep hearing us say is about the children. So everything we do is really centered around the kids. It's also centered around our faith and our strong belief and our passions and all of that. But the one, like when you were talking about the engagement, it made me think of a story. So we were literally on the beach, just got engaged, and we thought, let's send them like a funny cryptic message. We'll send them a picture and then just my hand in the picture. And, so again, we want to include the kids on everything that we're doing. And so we sent it to all 10 of them. And my one was sleeping and missed it completely. And my other one was in the midst of packing for like a going away weekend. So she just simply picked up the phone, saw the picture, and was like, oh, cute, and put it down. Meanwhile, Larry's 8 children were on it. Like they immediately, some of them even had like this notion that it was going to happen. And they were on it and they were like, oh my gosh, congratulations. So then my youngest daughter's like, why are we saying congratulations? Like what happened? They're on the beach. No big deal. So it was just kind of funny and fun and how all the kids kind of interacted. And we do love that, coming together with all the kids, whether it be a holiday or a reason or a season. But that was just like a funny moment that I think of. And of course, when I think about grinding and all of what you were just saying about working, I mean, now the perspective has changed. And I think that, while we were always doing everything for the kids, you would agree, like we were grinding for the kids. We were making the money for the kids. But now our perspective, I think, highlights, no, the children need us now. So how do we grind around that and do all the things that we need to do? Or what can we put aside? So
yeah, and I think, so kind of coming back to the topic, right? Like how do you stay connected, right? How do you find your peace amidst this chaos, right? And I think some of the things we try to do is we try to do it together, right? And so we laughed about the shopping experience, right? But in reality, we just took a couple days ago, we went with my one daughter and went shopping. And I know you had a bunch of things you were trying to get done and had kind of planned to allocate that time. And you said, you know what? If she wants me to come, I'm going to definitely be there. And obviously, you're a lot more, or you're more easily accessible to go into the dressing room than I am.
I mean, you're definitely a champion. Like, Larry is no doubt the best dad ever, and he does everything with the kids and even the girls. The girls know that they can talk to him and do everything. But then there's some things that I think that are just more comfortable with the woman, and why wouldn't I go? So, I'm literally in the dressing room with the one, and both of us were trying on different clothes together. So again, I always go back to the experience, where she's trying stuff on, I'm trying stuff on. What do you think? What do you think? Do we like it? No. Then we go out and ask Larry for his opinion, and he's like, I don't know. And we're like, okay, fine. It's good. So it's like a whole thing, and then we do, afterwards, we went and had dinner. And so again, it was an event, it was an experience, something memorable. She'll cherish it, I hope, and I know we do. And
so it's a way for us to spend time together. It's ways for us to spend time with them. And again, things that I may have looked at in the past as, I have to go do that, is now more like, all right, let's just go do it. Let's have fun with it and joke around and so forth. And I think, another thing I think for us personally is let's make sure we still prioritize time for ourselves. Because again, living separately and trying to figure out how do we make the time to see each other. We had looked at Saturday night as, well, we have to get these podcasts out, so maybe we can record on Saturday night. But then we're like, you know what? We had an opportunity to go out, with ourselves, but
We had
also
worked all week,
yeah, we worked
with
all
the
week.
kids, and
I had a friends who we hadn't seen in a while, close friends, and we said, let's go out together, right? And it was a fun night. We had dinner, and we ended up going dancing afterwards, and it's just deciding what's most important, right? And so instead of grinding out the work on a Saturday evening, which I don't advise ever anyway, but we had contemplated it, to now taking the time to spend it together and kind of recharging and so forth. So that was great.
And that's a hack, right? So again, we're always trying to bring you value from these videos, but one of the hacks, again, we've lived the life already of trying to do 8,000 things with all the kids and managing everything. But, one of the hacks is center yourselves, come together as a couple, make that time for each other, whether it be at the end of every single night, or whether it be, an hour during the day, like maybe you have to have lunch together because that's your only time, whatever that is. I know Larry and I, since we started dating, always FaceTime around like 9 or 10 o'clock at night. And maybe we've talked throughout the day, but it's business related for the most part. But at night, it's just seeing each other's face, since we don't live together and can't come together that way. But I think it's been great. I think it's always connected us, even during COVID. He had COVID, so we were in the beginning of our dating, and it was like 10 days we couldn't see each other. So we built this tremendous relationship during that time just through FaceTime. So
yeah. So whatever your circumstances are, however you're able to communicate, we would just highly encourage it, right? Stay in communication, making sure each other knows that you're important, and we need to share and talk about the day's events, but talk about yourselves and the relationship and so forth.
And keep things fun and light and not so serious, right? Because life is serious, and it's heavy, and it's hard sometimes. But I think when you can laugh about it, I mean, we've had so many things go wrong with trying to do this podcast, and literally ready to stab each other, and then we come on and we're laughing about it, because at the end of the day it is funny. It doesn't have to be so serious. So,
and I think the other thing we try to do, and Dawn had mentioned it earlier, our faith is important to us. So attending mass together on a Sunday morning with the kids, and just starting off the week in a great space and a great mindset, and then carrying that into the week, and just carrying your faith through the week as well, and having a shared faith, and then being able to kind of live it out together, and with yourselves and with the kids and so forth, I think really helps us as well. Again, stay connected, so when these crazy times come, and they're going to come some more, right, as we go through fall and into the holidays and so forth, right, I think it's just important, right, to kind of do these things and make time for each other and prioritize, but also making sure you're spending time with your loved ones as well. So
yeah, and I'd say that kind of wraps up what our life hack suggestion is. It's communication, togetherness, keeping it light and laugh, but still doing what needs to be done. Communication,
making the chores events, right, making that shopping trip an actual
or positive experiences. Trying to do the best in the midst of chaos, like we said. Yeah. So we hope you enjoyed this episode, and stay tuned for the next one to come. Yeah, and we will not be in the same outfit, I can guarantee you.
Thank you for listening in to this episode of the His and Her Life Hacks podcast. We hope you enjoyed it. We look forward to having you join us on future episodes. If there's a topic that you would like Dawn and I to discuss, please feel free to contact us at dawn.jacoby@grit2grace.com or larry.ambrose@grit2grace.com. See you on the next one.